Solving the top 4 symptoms of power steering air intrusion. Power steering systems rely on hydraulic pressure to make steering your vehicle easier. But when air gets into the system, it can cause significant problems. Air in the power steering system can lead to decreased performance, noisy operation, and even complete failure if left unchecked. In this video, we will discuss the top 4 symptoms of power steering air intrusion and provide step-by-step guidance on how to diagnose and fix each issue. This guide will help you restore the proper operation of your power steering system and ensure safe and comfortable driving. What causes air in power steering? The most common way air enters the power steering reservoir is through the hose that connects it to the pump. The air will get into the system if there's a loose or bad connection. Air in power steering symptoms. There are several symptoms of having air in the power steering. These are some of them. Number 1. You feel vibration on the steering wheel. Number 2. Loss of steering fluid or steering fluid leak. Number 3. Loss of power. Number 4. Stiff or hard steering and bubbles in the reservoir fluid. How to remove air bubbles in power steering. If you're having difficulty getting rid of air in your hydraulic lines and power steering, you might have a leak in the power steering line. Having a mechanic check your vehicle could help identify and fix the issue. Number 1. Find the power steering reservoir and twist the cap off. The manual will tell you where this tank is located and usually lies next to the engine bay's cooling system. This is where the transmission fluid is stored. Number 2. If the power steering reservoir is low, fill it to the cold fill line. You can determine the type of fluid you need by reading your owner's manual. Before filling the reservoir, inspect the dipstick, which has 2 hash marks. If the liquid is below the cold mark, slide a funnel through the opening of the reservoir and into the power steering fluid. Most vehicles use synthetic or industrial hydraulic fluid. You can also purchase power steering fluid at your local automotive store. Number 3. When you're about to start bleeding the power steering system and prevent the power steering fluid from getting out of the reservoir. Number 4. If the power steering system has a bleed valve, you can perform this procedure by purchasing a vacuum pump kit. After reading your vehicle's manual, slide the end of the vacuum pump hose over the bleed valve. If the gauge on the pump reads 20 hectograms, pull the trigger, and the air will be removed from the system. Some vehicles don't have a bleed valve on the power steering assembly. This is because it's relatively easy to bleed the system without a vacuum kit. If you're planning on using a vacuum pump kit to remove the air from the power steering system, you can also purchase a vacuum kit that slides into the opening of the reservoir. This method is easier to perform since it doesn't require you to elevate the vehicle. In addition, it only takes around 5 minutes to remove the air from the system. Number 5. Before lifting the vehicle from the ground, slide a pair of wedges or a choke behind the rear tires to prevent it from sliding back. It should improve the performance of the steering system. Number 6. Before you can start the process, make sure that the key is in the ignition. You must first get inside the vehicle to unlock the steering wheel. Don't start the car. Only turn the key to unlock the steering. Number 7. The easiest way to bleed the power steering is by turning the steering wheel over and over and over again. This process forces air out of the system. The wheels must rotate as far as possible to force air out of the lines and components of the steering system. After you've turned the wheel, take a quick look at the power steering level. Before starting the process, ensure the power steering reservoir is full. After you've opened the cap, look at the power steering fluid's level. If it's low, add more power steering fluid to the reservoir to reach the cold fill line. Number 8. After closing the power steering reservoir cap, get back into the vehicle and start. Turn the wheel lock to lock several times and let the fluid cycle through the lines. If you're driving a standard car, this procedure should be repeated 20 times to let the fluid circulate through the lines. If you're driving a minivan or an SUV, do this 35 times. Number 9. After turning the engine off, go to the power steering reservoir. If the fluid is still bubbling at the top of the reservoir, there's air in the lines. If there's no sign of bubbling, there is no air in the lines, and the system will no longer be affected by the air. Number 10. If the fluid is still bubbling at the top of the reservoir, Start the engine and lock it again. This procedure will continue until the bubbles disappear. Power steering air intrusion is a common issue that can lead to a range of symptoms including whining, difficulty steering, erratic steering, and leaks. By following the steps outlined in this guide, you can effectively diagnose and solve these symptoms. Regular maintenance of your power steering system, including fluid checks and changes, can also help prevent air intrusion and ensure that your vehicle's steering remains smooth and reliable. Remember to always exercise caution and follow safety procedures when working on your vehicle's power steering system. We hope this video helped solve your problems. If so, give us a like and follow us. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We will see you in the next video.